Hey, One Life Church, it's Justin, one of the pastors here, and today I come to you with another relaunch strategy update. Yes, I know I just released one of these 2 weeks ago, but things continue to change. And our hope 2 weeks ago, we communicated to you was that we would be coming back together for indoor services on January the 24th. And so today, I want to talk to you about what our next steps are and what you can expect. But before I get to the details, I want to read from James, a book in the Bible, chapter 3, starting in verse 17. And James writes these words, "But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure. Then it's peace-loving, it's considerate, it is submissive, it is full of mercy and good fruit. It is impartial and it is sincere. Peacemakers who sow in peace raise a harvest of righteousness." These couple verses have really been on my heart today as I've been thinking about what to share with you and as we have been processing our next steps. Honestly, the wisdom from above is what we have been praying for over the last 11 months. We don't want, as a leadership, as a staff of One Life Church, we don't want our decisions to be driven by or motivated by the wisdom of the world, the wisdom of one side or the other side, but we want our decisions to be motivated by this wisdom from above that James says is pure. He says it is peace-loving. It loves to see the unity of the church. It says that it is considerate. It says it is mutually submissive to one another. It says it is full of mercy and good, tasty fruit. And that is our heart. And so before we even talk about details today, I just want to ask that you would trust my heart, that you would trust the heart of the leadership of One Life Church, that our heart is that we would be motivated by this wisdom from heaven, this wisdom from above. All right, now let me remind us that we have been looking through 4 sets of criteria as we have made every decision along the way, as we have taken every step. We have been looking through these 4 criteria. The first one is this a legal decision? So is it legal for us to gather indoors? Is it legal for us to gather in the parking lot? And for us in North Carolina, it is. It is legal for us as the church to gather in our parking lot, for us to come together in safe ways in our building. So it is legal. The second criteria is it ethical? And we've been saying this all along the way that we want to live in line with the Jesus ethic. And when we look at the life of Jesus, his ethic, his works, his words can be boiled down to 2 things: loving God with everything that we have and to love those around us. And so listen, it's been tough. It has been tough because for so many of us, corporate worship is a massive part of us loving God. And I get that. That's me. I miss taking communion with you. I miss hearing you sing. I miss watching your response to the teachings. I miss that. And so it's tough because we were never created to do this alone. We were created to do this with our church family. So it has been hard for us to find new ways and new rhythms to love God. And also we want to love those around us. And so as we've been making these decisions, we've been asking, how do we love people well? Yes, we want to make sure that we do our best to keep people safe and to keep one another from getting this virus that can be deadly for some. But also, we want to love people as they've struggled with isolation, as they have struggled with loneliness, as we have all struggled with mental health. And so we need to love each other well, right where we are, not just on one side or the other side of the argument, but across the spectrum. And so, is it ethical? The third is it practical? Listen, it takes so many resources, so much money and energy and volunteers to make our indoor services happen, to make our church online happen. I am so grateful for the hours and the time and the resources and the volunteers that have gone into these past 11 months. It has said something about our church, but we still have to be honest about it. It takes a lot to make this happen. It takes a lot for our church online experience to come through to your TV or your computer or your device. It takes a lot of man hours to pull off a Sunday morning during this season. And so is it practical is a really big question for us. And then finally, is it in line with our values as a church? We have 3 values. 1, we value church as family. Can we experience church as family in an indoor service? Can we experience church as family during church online? And then we value authentic living. Can we be authentically ourselves as we gather in safe ways and wise ways during this season? Can we experience and find ways to experience authenticity and vulnerability when we are meeting together online? And then our third value is a culture of investing. We want to be a sent people. We want to bring heaven to earth, to our communities, to our neighborhoods. Can we do that? How do we do that well? How do we do that in such a way that we care for our neighbors? So that's the 4 criteria. Is it legal? Is it ethical? Is it practical? And is it in line with our values? Now, 2 weeks ago, we came to you and we said that we were going to push our church indoor relaunch time in January back a couple weeks because we were looking at the numbers in Cabarrus County and in our area and realizing, man, they're really high, and we don't want to add to that. And so we pushed that back a couple weeks, and our hope and our prayer was that we were going to be able to gather indoors on January the 24th. That's what we shared with you a couple weeks ago. So today I'm here to tell you that we are going to stick with that plan. We are going to gather indoors starting January the 24th. Now, for some of you, you're super excited. You're like, yes, let's do it. I'm looking forward to it. For some of you, there's a hesitation. For some of you, there may be even a little frustration because you think, man, yeah, that One Life Church is just like every other church. I get it. I get it. There is a tension within me. There's a tension within our leadership about this decision. So I get it. I understand. I'm excited, but also it's like, whoa, we don't want to add to what's happening. So let me explain. We believe that we are doing everything possible, all the precautions that are possible to make our indoor gathering one of the safest places that you can go. We are doing our best to make it safer than your journey to Food Lion or your trip to Harris Teeter or Walmart. We are putting all of these precautions in place to make our indoor gathering a safe place for you and your family, your kids, and your neighbors, all right? If you're not ready for that, we understand. We understand, and we want to invite you to continue to engage through church online, and we're going to continue to roll out new ways that you can continue to engage while we are scattered and apart. Now, here's what I'm going to ask. If you are going to join us for church indoors, it's going to take all of us to create a safe environment for us to gather going forward. It's going to take every one of us, and let me tell you how you can help us do that. Number 1, masks. We are asking you to wear a mask at all times when you are with us on a Sunday morning in person. I want to ask you that as soon as you and your family drive into the parking lot, you're sitting in your car, that maybe you're not a big fan of masks, that maybe you take a breath whenever you're sitting in your car and you ask God to just give you the grace and the mercy to put that mask on to join us for indoor worship, all right? And I want to ask all of us that before we get out of the car, we would put our mask on and we would come and we would honor one another by wearing a mask. I want to ask you that at all times you wear a mask when you are worshiping with us for church indoors. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that we're going to ask you that if you are feeling under the weather, that you stay at home. If anyone in your home is feeling under the weather, we ask that you would stay at home. If anyone has a fever, that you would stay at home. That includes your children, your babies. Just let's take extra precaution during this season and you join us online. If you have tested positive, we ask that you would stay at home until you've been cleared by the health department for you to come back and join us for Church Indoors. If you or someone in your home or someone close to you has been tested, someone you've been interacting with on a regular basis has tested positive, we ask that you would stay home. If somebody has been tested, but they haven't received their results back, we ask that you would stay at home. If you have flown and you've traveled out of state, then we ask that you would stay home for a week, join us for church online, and then come back the next week. We just want to take these extra precautions during this time that we know the numbers are pretty high, and we don't want to add to it. We want to create a safe environment for us to gather, okay? Another thing we're going to do is we're going to continue to take temperatures. Thank you for being so gracious and understanding as we do that. As you check in on a Sunday morning, we're going to ask you to reserve your spots, your seats beforehand so that we know who's coming and how many people will be joining us. So you can reserve your spots at onelifehub.com for the 24th. And then with our kiddos, from 4 years old and up, we ask that they would do their best to wear a mask at all times. And our Little Life team, they will also be wearing a mask. They'll be cleaning all the toys, and they're also creating a safe environment for your children. And so that we can come together and learn together and walk alongside of one another during this time. So we're taking all of those precautions to create a safe place for us to be together starting on January 24th. Now, you may have a lot of questions. You may have a lot of pushback. You may think, man, this just isn't the right decision. I want to ask you to pray for your family, to pray for our church, to pray for our staff, to pray for the leadership of your church, and pray that God would guide us and lead us one step at a time. Okay, there's a lot of emotions going on around us in our world, in our country, and we don't want to add to those emotions. We don't want to add to that craziness, but instead we want to be peacemakers. That doesn't mean that we're going to agree all the time, but it means that we're going to pursue peace through the wisdom that comes from above. And so let's be that kind of people during this season. We look forward to seeing you, whether it's in person or online, on January the 24th, and January 17th we'll be online. So join us for that. We have a great interview with my friend Ben Hardman, and we're going to continue this series called Sheepish. And so I can't wait to see you and engage with you and see all that God has for our church family. We love you. Grace and peace.